What's up, everybody? Welcome into Tom Curran's Patriots Talk podcast. It is the aftermath. The aftermath of a somewhat surprising 19-3 Patriots win. The Patriots have been an elixir for every team on the ropes, except for the New York Jets a couple of weeks ago, and now the Chicago Bears. The Patriots were the knockout blow, perhaps, to Matt Eberflus and first-year offensive coordinator Shane Waldron. I'm not wishing ill on anybody. But when you get your quarterback sacked 9 times and look as ridiculous on offense as the Chicago Bears looked on Sunday, there's going to be fallout. The Patriots actually found a team less organized than they are, improving to 3-7. Can't run the ball? Well, they collectively ran, the Patriots did, 35 times for 144 yards. Can't stop the run? They haven't been able to, but they set the hell out of the edge. On Sunday, they held the Bears to 20-73 collectively as a team. Pass rush, the 9 sacks I mentioned, 9. Defensively, Keenan Allen, DJ Moore, Roma Dunze, DeAndre Swift, Cole Kmet. Those guys combined for 14 catches, 110 yards. That's $52 million in cap space being expended on each of those guys, all of whom, maybe not Swift over Ramondre. And honestly, maybe not Cole Kmet over Hunter Henry. But all of them, you would say, probably better than anybody the Patriots have, except for the guys I mentioned. And it'd be close. Meanwhile, the number 1 overall pick, Caleb Williams, taken 2 spots ahead of Drake Maye. He goes 16 for 30. Did I mention there were 9 sacks? 1 for 14 on third down for the Bears. Their wet behind the ears coordinator, Waldron, who many folks thought would be a good fit here because he's young. He's been around the league a little bit. He's fresh. He'd be preferable to Alex Van Pelt. No, Alex Van Pelt had himself a day. One of the things that I liked most about his days, he found ways to get the ball to young Demario Douglas. Also, DeMarcus Covington had himself a day. One of the things I loved about his plan was to not let Caleb Williams off the hook. Attack some more, especially on third downs. And then finally, Brendan Schooler as a spy. Saw that throughout the day. But we're going to bring in Phil Perry in just a moment. But here's Mayo on his coordinators after the game in Chicago on Sunday.
I thought the coordinators did an excellent job the entire week, not only reiterating the message that I said in the squad meeting rooms, but also just putting together a good game plan and knowing how we have to win football games. And that's through controlling the line of scrimmage, and kind of talked about that.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, straight out of the heartland, Second City, the Windy City, it's Phil Perry. Phil, let's get right to it. What was the feeling in the locker room? Because this was a sneaky, efficiently, inconspicuously, unexpected performance by the Patriots.
Jubilant. It was a jubilant locker room. And I think, one of the reasons it felt the way it did was because that's one of those wins where truly every unit can feel as though it contributed. You only allow 3 points defensively, run game, you're much better, only allow 3.7 per carry. You make Caleb Williams look like a rookie, even though he's the number 1 overall picked and considered by many to be sort of a generational guy. His special team, you got a lot of contributions from Joey Sly, Bryce Behringer with a couple of bombs to flip the field, and then offensively, you got enough from Drake Maye. I thought it was a nice little bounce back sort of day for him after throwing a bad pick early. Leads him to a touchdown drive soon thereafter. Was really all they needed because the Bears offense was so abysmal. So
Did you sense
I think that's why the mood was as positive as it was. Everybody chipped in.
Did you sense this level of competency lurking throughout the week? I really didn't. They've been an elixir, as I said at the top, for every bad team down on their luck who needed something good to happen to them. And Chicago, Patriots are obviously not as talented roster-wise. You can just look at the numbers spent on offense and draft picks expended. Patriots are not as talented, but they sure don't seem to have the level of quit Chicago seems to have right now.
It's bad over there. That was the one thing I thought the Patriots had going for them coming into the game was I thought actually the Patriots, as bad as the season has been, were a team in less turmoil, dealing with less chaos than the Bears were at 500 coming into this game. And the Bears hadn't lost at home in over a year. You'd think this would be a pretty good spot for them. You'd think this would be their chance at a second wind for the second half of their season. And it was more of the same. And I give, some credit to the fact that their offensive line was completely banged up, but their quarterback is just spray missing. The receivers are frustrated. We talked about it a little bit on the pregame. I think it's impacting the young quarterback. The fact that guys like DJ Moore and Keenan Allen are not happy with how the offense is performing. And Caleb Williams is trying to keep those guys happy, and he just can't. And so there's a lot wrong there right now. I'm wondering if we're going to see some firings tomorrow here in Chicago, Tom, because it's been that tumultuous of late for them. And no, I did not sense this level of competency coming from the Patriots, but I give them credit. They've done a lot of things they haven't been able to do. They ran for over 4 yards per carry. They held an opposing offense. Get this, Tom, to fewer than 100 yards rushing for the first time in 8 weeks.
They set the hell out of the edge today, didn't they?
Anthony Jennings did a great job. I thought it was a nice game from Keon White. Jelani Tavai, I thought, played well. Dietrich Wise. So they did things today that they really haven't done. I hesitate to say all season, but it's been a long time. I'm talking weeks 1 and 2 since we've seen some of the things we saw today.
Phil, the Patriots could have beaten Seattle, the Titans, the Dolphins. If you add those could-have-beens into the situation, we would be looking at a 6-4 football team. They didn't get their third win last year until December 7th, Larry Bird's birthday, and also the anniversary of Pearl Harbor. So what does this say about this team relative to where they were? We realize the personnel isn't good, and the coaching staff is dealing with a learning curve. And we do this every week, and I do hate when we in the media do this, taking the temperature every week of, are they ahead? Are they behind? Are they ahead? Are they behind? Where are they? What does this say about them relative to where they were last year? I guess they were still on the down escalator last year. I'm not sure if they're on the up one yet, but go ahead.
Well, listen, I'm not sure if they're on the upswing, I guess, yet either. They need to be more consistent in some of the things that we saw from them today. But this is a much more hopeful football team right now. Last year, they were going nowhere fast, and everybody knew it. Their offense did nothing. They would lose games like this, Tom. If the Bears had scored, had kicked another field goal today, that could very well have been a loss for the 2023 Patriots. That's just how things were going for them then. But now you have not a lot offensively, but you have enough led by your quarterback to put together 10 points in less than 2 minutes at the end of the first half and to execute an end of half situation. Like, I'm not sure there was a whole lot of that happening last year. And so not to compare and contrast last year to this year, but I think between the quarterback's bounce back, I think between the quarterback's leadership that he showed, and we got some great stuff from the post game about how he's asserting himself as a leader. I think the defense showing up in a spot where they should have taken advantage of Bears injuries, and they did. I thought the coaching staff had a nice game. I think he put all those things together, and there's a lot more hope now for a 3-win football team than there was December 7th last year.
We're going to get to plenty of Drake Maye in a moment, and it is interesting. It's been such a Drake Maye-dominated conversation around the Patriots for 3 months, 5 months, 6 months that it is interesting to actually have him kicked off the front page by competency everywhere. But plays or exchanges that stood out to you, you just mentioned this first half flurry to actually get the ball back a second time and to stop Chicago. They found a team that was less competent than they are, the Patriots, at the end of half sequence. And not only did they do that, they, had a fire drill opportunity to get 3 points and did so. So that stood out for me hugely, as did them bowing up on third down after the Drake Maye turnover, and then the Schooler usage. Those are 3 things that really stood out to me. A couple things that stood out to you maybe from nuggets in the game you had in your notebook.
Yeah, I like all of those, in terms of, listen, I think if this was a coaching staff that needed a win within the win, I think they got it today. I think this was a good day for them for a lot of those reasons you just mentioned. Isn't that Brendan Schooler move, Tom? Isn't that one of those things we would have looked at it if it had been the previous head coach and said, Bill Belichick did it again. My God, this guy has never had a sack all the way going back to Pop Warner, and he only plays special teams, and he's good at special teams, but who would have thought he could play essentially a middle linebacker kind of role? They were short on linebackers. Christian Ellis is hurt. They just released Raekwon McMillan to make room for Yannick Ngakoue. And so they're using him as the spy on this mobile quarterback, and he has a sack and a quarterback hit, and he's a real factor on third down for them. That's a nice little feather in your cap if you're Gerard Mayo. The end of half is a nice little feather in your cap if you're Gerard Mayo and Alex Van Pelt. I thought even just, the ability to stick with the running game after it's been so bad. Because you and I talked last week, right? We're talking about the run and shoot.
Yeah, just throw it 35 times and stop.
All down the field, and it wasn't a bad idea. But to their credit, they stick with the run game. The Bears haven't been great against the run this year, so maybe they saw a little bit of a weakness there. And it was effective, especially on early downs. I just tallied it up, actually, Tom, and they were living in third and manageable today. Good for them. They were not able to do that last week. They were horrid on first and second down.
You mentioned that, and it was early in the second half, and they had the 3-and-out. Might have been on their first possession. They threw deep to Booty. Then they had a screen to Stevenson that was blown up by a missed block on the edge, and Drake Maye had to throw it away, and they were in 3rd and 10. I'm like, holy crap, now they're in 3rd and 10. I'm like, I hope that they don't turtle after this. And, you're setting them up. You got off the field with Chicago on their first drive of the second half. You should have gained momentum. They did not. And I'm like, here we go. This could light the fire someplace. Chicago gets the ball. They come back. They get a field goal or a touchdown. It's 13-10. And then the limbs start falling off, then the lips, and then the ears and everything. And it's just a total skeleton at the end of it. But it didn't happen that way. Really good game by Van Pelt.
Yeah, a little bit of creativity, maybe a little too much at one point where we saw a reverse flea flicker into the flat for a bubble screen of some sort.
You'll hit this.
I liked it.
You'll hit this on the breakdown.
For a 7-yard gain.
You'll hit this on the breakdown. You'll see, and I don't know if you had a chance to see it on the replay. Had the edge player not pushed Demario Douglas so far into the backfield, it might have looked a little bit smoother. But there was a lot of penetration, and he got in there and mucked it up. But at least they made something of it, and it didn't turn into.
I just give him credit for saying, "Hey, we're going to continue to. I know the wide zone is sucked. We're going to still do it. I don't care." And it paid some dividends today. They had some nice gains on wide zone. And what does that lead to? It leads to play action. I'm telling you, Tom, third down, I tallied 14 third down plays just from my notebook here. So this is sort of an initial count. They, on average, their yards to go on third down was only 4. That's a drastic improvement. You can do anything on 3rd and 4. You can run a draw. You can run wide zone again if you want. Try to go for it on 4th and short. You can throw. You can play action pass. And what were their biggest pass plays of the game? It's play action down the field early in the game to Austin Hooper, help set up a field goal. It's play action again to Austin Hooper on the eventual touchdown drive. The touchdown pass itself was a play action throw. And the Bears, because the Bears have it in their minds, hey, these guys are actually committed to running the ball, and they're doing a pretty good job of it. So we have to respect it, and it opened up the rest of their offense.
That second Hooper one is a great one to point out. The conversion was a 3rd down conversion, I believe, and they faked wide zone left. Did a bootleg. For you people who've watched football as long as Phil and I have, you saw the Denver Broncos always do that. That's really what stood out to me, watching whether it was Jake Plummer or, John Elway or anybody who ran that Shanahan-style offense, the boot. You come back, and you have 3 levels of receivers. And Austin Hooper was so wide open because they had executed it so well. And that was interesting, too, because on that throw, Drake Maye wasn't real accurate. Nice catch by Austin Hooper. Austin Hooper had another nice catch earlier in the game. Kayshon Boutte had a very nice catch on a difficult throw to the sideline because that's how Kayshon Boutte is. He's a dependable, ridiculously dependable dummy. I mean, he doesn't care. He doesn't think too much. He just goes where he's supposed to be, and he's like a goalkeeper. He makes goalkeeper catches. He just looks at himself and thinks that you are looking at Lance Allworth. Who's Lance Allworth? Said Kayshon Boutte. I said, don't worry about it. But honestly, all that stuff, those guys were really helping Drake Maye out today. You had your finger up, go with that, and then tell me about Drake Maye's day.
Well, just on the topic of Boutte, and this gets to Drake Maye's day because this was another one of his best throws of the day, was that last play before the field goal, before the spike at the very end of the half. He gets 22 yards on a dig to Kayshon Boutte. And what I want to highlight here is because I don't know how much about about this they spoke on the broadcast. But the wind was fearsome out there, Tom. The goalposts were shaking.
Yeah, we saw that
for a large majority of the game. And I talked to our great photographer on the field, does a fantastic job shooting these games, Bill Messina, Moose, one of the camera guys of Camera Guy fame, after the game. And he said, that throw to Booty at the end of the half, the throw, he even highlighted the throw deep down the field to Booty. I believe it was early in the second half? But he threw a bomb down to Booty that was incomplete on first. I think it was on first down. You might have just mentioned it. And it was a little short. He's like, the fact that even got close to Booty was kind of wild because the wind was changing directions. It was going one way, then the other. It was really hard to throw the football is what it seemed like to Moose. And he still was able to make, while inaccurate at times, enough in the way of on-target throws to keep the chains moving.
I wonder how much that wind actually impacted some of those throws that we're talking about. Here is, however, we'll get into Drake's performance and pick it apart because that's how we're supposed to do this particular job. It's a very useful job. Here is Drake Maye on Drake Maye's performance.
Look, Drake has addressed the offense numerous times. I think it goes back to now he's starting to really take control of the offense and the team. I mean, when you go out there and you perform at a high level, that's the first step. The next step is to bring others with you, and I think he's on his way to doing that.
Phil, pregame, we always do our absurdly detailed prediction, and I thought Drake Maye would come crashing back to earth a little bit because I said, well, you know what, the Bears aren't going to let him run around the way he's done the last couple weeks. They're going to put a spy on him, or they're going to try and limit his running because that was the best part of his game, and he's just due to be a little bit inaccurate. He still performed very well. He ran fine. Chicago did a better job than other teams. But what did you think of Maye's performance in the overall? I'll say this. It was, to me, C+, B- for a rookie quarterback.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I want to almost give him more credit for starting slow and then getting better because I feel like that sort of resiliency, it just matters so much. And again, on the other side, you have an immensely talented quarterback in Caleb Williams, but I think playing poorly impacts him. And maybe that's not fair. He's got a bunch of backups on the offensive line, but all of his mistakes today did not seem like offensive line related. He's spray missing to guys. He's holding on to the football. Indecisive. Some of those sacks, he's holding on the ball for 3.5 or 4 seconds. Like you can't do it. So what I liked from Maye was some of the downfield, stuff off of play action. I really liked the end of the half, and I liked the end of the game because not that the Bears were necessarily threatening offensively, and it was a 2-score game at this point, but he had that one play, Tom, where he's dropping back. There's nothing there. He steps up, gets walloped, basically bent in half as he's throwing a check down to Hunter Henry that goes for a first down. And that to me was sort of indicative of his style of play today, which was he was willing to take some shots, and he took a bunch. So they have not only a resilient guy when it comes to play for play, bouncing back from bad plays and trying to make good ones, but resilient physically as well. They are, again, I feel like I'm saying it every week. They are lucky they ran into him with the 3rd overall pick because they got a guy who's able to absorb some shots that I'm not sure every quarterback would be able to and still perform.
Part of Drake Maye's day and week included an injection of leadership that you're seeing again from a 22-year-old player who's all football all the time and comfortable in his skin, comfortable in his role. He gave a speech, according to multiple players, to the team on Wednesday. Here is how Jalen Polk spoke about it. This is from Andrew Callahan's Twitter. Of this speech, Polk said, everybody loved it. We need that. We need that from our starting quarterback. So everybody loved it. Everybody wants to be held to a certain standard on this team that just tells you a lot about the guys that we have in the room. Phil, you and I have been talking about the standard. And the quality control and the attention to detail. We've been around the game a lot longer than Jalen Polk, to be frank. God bless him. He's achieved, and he's at a higher level than we are. But he's just figuring it out. He has been one of the guys who hasn't been on the details and the quality control. So they do need to be held to a standard. What's your take on Drake Maye's speech to the team overall, and do you have any more details on what it was about?
We got some great quotes from guys in the locker room on this. Polk
Fire
included.
away.
You know, Polk told me that he actually said something to Maye on Wednesday before making that speech, and basically indicating to him, hey, you're our quarterback. If you feel like you need to say something to the rest of the group, like, go ahead and take the reins. And it sounds like he did soon thereafter. And guys really appreciated it. And I think it said a lot to a lot of them who understand what it is to be a rookie and how difficult it can be to address older teammates, more experienced teammates. And they really respected him for even wanting to do it or trying to do it. And, you know, Mike Owenu said it lights a fire up under us. So it makes us want to go to war for him, the fact that he spoke to us the way he did. And, you know, I asked a few of the guys, how is he in that setting? Because even Maye, after the game at the podium, acknowledged, you know, sometimes I might fumble my words, but I think they respect it and they kind of get the gist of what I'm trying to say. And Owenu, when I asked him about that, he laughed and he said, yeah, he does. He might skip a word here or there, but we all understand the message he's trying to send. And it means a lot to us. And so the fact that you're hearing those types of things, and then in some even like quieter moments, Tom, I think he's really trying to assert himself as a leader. Pop Douglas tells me that, you know, he's getting text messages from Drake Maye with video of receivers from other teams running routes that are in the Patriots offense and saying to Douglas, hey, when we're running this, see how this guy does it? That's how I want you to do it. And, you know, again, that's a young player talking to another young player there, but for him to assert himself in that way and do a little extra when it comes to getting more out of his teammates, I think it says a lot about the guy as a leader.
You reported in the summer that the Patriots wanted to see more from Drake Maye in his competition with Jacoby Brissett in terms of being assertive and understanding this isn't an apprentice year. I thought at the time it was really interesting because that after your reporting was done on that, it was if not cause and effect, but it must have been pointed out to Drake from the team that, hey, let's get after it a little bit. Let's really put the heat up on Jacoby. It's interesting to see how well he's embraced that since that week, huh?
It is. And, you know, I think it's been sort of a slow burn. I think he's sensitive to, I think he's done it the right way, quite frankly. I know they wanted to see more from him early, but I get it from his perspective as a young guy, 21, coming into a team with a bunch of older guys, including an older quarterback who is going to be the starter, and not wanting to step on toes. I mean, in any walk of life, Tom, we know it from having been in, you know, this business for
you and
for
me
as long
working
as
together. Like, now I let Phil do whatever he wants. He's got my mailbag. He's got my preview. I'm like, yeah, take it. I'm Jacoby. I don't know. Paying me.
No, but if I had come in as a 23-year-old, maybe whenever I started working at Comcast Sportsnet at the time, and as the night editor, you know, and started walking around and telling people how to do their jobs, you might say, well, this guy really wants to be a leader. You might also say this guy's kind of a dick, you know? And you gotta, I think you have to slow play it. And I asked Pop Douglas about this too. And he said, no, you know, I think everybody has the right to, if they feel like they need to say something, you know, Drake Maye didn't even need to play a snap to have earned the right to say something to us. But I think realistically, it's asking a lot for him to really take hold of the team in that regard.
Oh, my goodness. We have to do Patriots post-game live. You get out of here. I'm going to say goodbye. I had so much more to get to. Phil, stock up, stock down. Hit me.
Stock up. Let's go with the whole Patriots front. Anthony Jennings, Keon White, Jeremiah Farms. How about Jeremiah Farms?
PHA.
Lighting it up today.
How
about you? What else you got for stock up?
Stock up. I'm doing Keyshawn Boutte. I just love the way he plays the game. Always. He's just so friggin' talented in terms of athleticism, body control, not the fastest guy, and self-confidence. Keyshawn Boutte and Marcus Jones, really some key tackles today and pass breakups. Down, I'm going to go with Kendrick Bourne, surprisingly a DNP CD. Did not play coach's decision.
I'm going to go with KJ Osborne, even though he was actually on the field and running around out there, which we haven't always seen from him. Just took off the board a really impressive what would have been touchdown pass from Drake Maye by stepping out of bounds in the end zone and coming back to the ball and being the first one to touch it for an illegal touching penalty. So let's go down for KJ Osborne as well. But hard to find downs, quite frankly, Tom, for the Patriots in this one.
Refreshingly an up week, and it's going to be an up week for Phil and I as we go through the breakdown tomorrow. Phil and Ted will hit that. We're going to have Brian Hoyer join us for Quick Slants and the Patriots Talk podcast on Tuesday. We're working on Chris Long for later in the week for our other Pats Talk podcast. Phil's going to have his next Pats guest, but I got to get my keister right out there in that damn studio. Phil, great work out of Chicago today. Phil Perry out of Chicago. Goodbye, friends.